Everybody, so today we're going to start talking about something called measures of variance. So last week we talked about something called measures of center, and those are the different ways that we could look at the middle or the center of the data. Now we're going to talk about measures of variance, which talk about how spread apart the data is. So again, measures of variance talk about how far spread apart is the data. So again, that's what measures of variance are going to talk about. So we have three types of measures of variance. We have IQR. We know that is interquartile range. MAD, mean absolute deviation, and range. We're going to take a minute just to kind of summarize what these are. And then after we've gone through and we remembered the processes, we're going to solve a couple examples with all three so we can see what's the same between them and what's different between them. So for interquartile range, I need to place the numbers in order. After I place those numbers in order, let's see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. I have to find the median, which I'm going to call Q2, quartile 2. Then I find the middle of the first half, which we call quartile 1. Then we'll find the middle of the second half, which we call quartile 2. And then the last thing for IQR is we take quartile 3 and we subtract quartile 1. If you can't really see that, if you want to put subtract in there to help you remember, go for it. So again, for IQR, we place the numbers in order. We find the median, which we call quartile 2. So that's the middle of the data. We find the middle of the first half. Find the middle of the second half. Oops, which is quartile 3, not 2. Uh-oh. And then we subtract Q3 minus Q1. Okay, next we're going to talk about mean absolute deviation, also known as MAD. So first, we're going to find the mean of all the data points. Remember, that's also called the average. Next, we need to find the distance of each data point from the mean. And something I want to remember is it's going to be always positive. That's what we mean when we have this absolute value piece here. We're always going to use the positive. And then last, we need to find the mean of all the distances. So for MAD, we need to find the mean of all the data points. We call that the average. We have to find the distance from each data point from the mean. And remember, we're always going to keep that positive. And then we find the mean of all the distances. Remember, also on this step, we're subtracting. That helps you remember. Go for it. And last one is range. Range, you just take your highest value and then you subtract your lowest value, and then you're done. So these are our three: interquartile range, mean absolute deviation, and range. So let's take a minute and try to use these in an example now. Okay. Find the measures of variance of the following data set. We have 10, 20, 30, 50, 40. So I don't like that these aren't in order, so I'm going to do that first. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm just going to put them in order. Just makes my life a little bit easier. So first I have range, which remember, range is my largest minus my smallest. So I'm going to do 50 minus 10. This is my largest minus my smallest. When I do this, I found out that my range will be equal to 40. So next we're going to need to do that interquartile range. So we're going to take this list and write it out. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So for interquartile range, first I need to find the middle number, which looks like it's going to be 30. So 30 is what splits my data in half. That's quartile 2, or my median. So now I'm going to take a look at the first half of data, which just gives me 10 and 20. So I have to figure out what's in the middle of those. So I add them and divide by 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So right here, 15 is equal to quartile 1. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I have a 40 and a 50. I need to find the middle between these two, so I'm going to add them and divide by 2. This gives me 90 over 2. Looks like that gives me 45. So right here, 45 equals quartile 3. Now IQR is equal to quartile 3 minus quartile 1. IQR equals 45 minus 15. QR equals, let's say we're going to get 30. So far our range was 40. Our IQR is 30. And last we have our mean absolute deviation. So the first step for mean absolute deviation is to find the mean. So I need to add all my data points. And divide by how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's add these. 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40 plus 50. I end up with 150 over 5, which gives me 30. So 30 is my mean. Next, we now need to find the distance from the mean. So we're going to do 30, that's my mean, minus 10, my first data point. That gives me 20. I did the 10. Now I'm going to do 30, that's my mean, minus my data point, which is 20. That gives me 10. I'm going to do 30, which is my mean, minus my data point of 30. That gives me 0. I'm going to do 30 minus my data point of 40. It's going to give me negative 10, but again, I'm just going to use the positive, so just 10. And then last, I'm going to do 30 minus my last data point of 50, which is going to give me negative 20, but I'm just going to take the positive, which gives me 20. So now here I have my data sets, 20, 10, 0, 10, and 20. So my last step is to find the mean of distances. So I'm going to do 20 plus 10 plus 0 plus 10 plus 20 divided by 5. So we're going to add 20 plus 10 plus 0 plus 10 plus 20. Gives us 60 divided by 5 is going to give us 12. So our MAD is equal to 12. Okay, so let's try another example. And I believe we have 2 more. Find the measure of variance of the following data set. So we're going to find range, IQR, and MAD. Now I don't like that this list is not in order, so I'm going to start with that. 5, 15, 20, 30, and 40. Okay, range, I'm going to take my largest number and subtract my smallest number. So this is my largest minus my smallest. So it looks like my range is equal to 35. Next, we have our interquartile range. So I'm going to write out my list. And I need to find my middle number, which looks like it's going to give me 20. So 20 is my quartile 2. I take a look at the first half of data, and I've got a 5 and a 15. I need to figure out what is the median between these two. That gives me 20 over 2, which means my quartile 1 is 10. And now I have to do the same thing, but on the other side. I have a 30 and a 40. I need to find the middle, so I'm going to add them and divide by 2. That gives me 70 over 2. If I divide that, I get 45 is equal to quartile 3. IQR equals quartile 3 minus quartile 1. IQR equals 45 minus 10. So IQR in this case is 35. And the last thing I need to do is I need to do the mean absolute deviation. First, I have to find the mean. I add up the values. And divide by how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do 5 plus 15 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40. looks like that's going to give me 110 divided by 5, which gives me a mean of 22. Next, I'm going to find all my distances. So I'm going to take my mean, 22, minus 5. We're going to get 17. 22 minus 15. We're going to get 7. 22 minus 20 gives us 2. 22 minus 30. Now in this case, I am going to get a negative 8, but that's okay. I'm just going to put the 8. And then 22 minus 40. Also, I'm going to get a negative, but I'm just going to put down 18. I now need to take all of these data points that I just created. I need to find the mean of those. So mean of distances. So we're going to do 17 plus 7 plus 2 plus 8 plus 18 divided by 5. So 17 plus 7 plus 2 plus 8 plus 18 gives me 52 divided by 5, which gives me 10 and 4/10. So MAD equals 10 and 4/10. Okay, let's take a look at our next example. Same idea, we need to find the measures of variance. My list isn't in order, so I'm going to start by putting it in order. 0, 3, 4, 7, 7, 14, and 21. Okay, first is my range. So I take my largest, which is 21. I subtract my smallest, which is 0. And my range is equal to 21. That was my largest minus my smallest. Okay, next is IQR. So we're going to write that list again. 0, 3, 4, 7, 7, 14, 21. We need to find the middle number. So I'm going to cross out, cross out, cross out. It looks right here. 7 is my quartile 2. Now I need to find the middle number of the first half. Oh, this one's nice. Look, it's right in the middle. So 3 equals quartile 1. I need to find the middle of the second half, which this one looks pretty nice too. I cross out, and right there, 14 is equal to quartile 3. Now we know IQR equals quartile 3 minus quartile 1. IQR equals 14 minus 3. So IQR in this case is 11. All right, last example. We need to find the MAD of this data set. So we're going to start by finding the mean of our data points. 0 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7 plus 14 plus 21. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divided by 7. So let's see what we get. 0 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7 plus 14 plus 21 gives me 56 over 7, which gives me 8. Okay, now we need to find the distances. So I'm going to do 8 minus 0, which gives me 8. 8 minus 3 gives me 5. 8 minus 4 gives me 4. 8 minus 7 gives me 1. 8 minus 7 gives me 1. 8 minus 14. I'm going to get a negative here. Negative 6, but I'm going to just write 6. And then 8 minus 21. Again, I get a negative, but I'm just going to write 13. Get them all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I did. So now we're going to take all of these new data points here. And we're going to find the mean of the distances. So I'm going to do 8 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 6 plus 13 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to get 8 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 6 plus 13 gives me 38 over 7, which gives me a crazy number. MAD equals 5 and 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. It keeps going on forever and ever, but I'm going to stop right here. And that is my MAD. All right, kiddos, it looks like that's all for today. Remember, today we talked about mean absolute variance. We talked about measures of variance, which includes range, interquartile range, and mean absolute deviation. All right, that's it. Bye, guys.